Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Manny Talks Shooting is proudly presented to you by D2 Custom Guns. Did you know that Phil the Groundhog isn't the only thing Puxatawny, Pennsylvania is famous for? That's right, D2 Custom Guns, the home of Dan Heizenreiter and one of the best, fabulous 2011 builders in the country. So make sure you guys go check him out, D2 Custom, anywhere you can see him on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, go check him out. If you see myself, Patches Reader, anyone with the D2 Custom Guns, make sure you go check him out, and you will thank me later. Now, let's get on to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of the Manny Talks Shooting podcast. Thank you for joining us. And as you guys know, the show is now brought to you by D2 Custom Guns. So go check them out. Listen to the fancy commercial I just probably put before this part, but hey, it's okay. Today, we're sitting down with two gentlemen from the results of me actually helping sponsor a match, is what I call sponsoring a match. So I, as a cool person, decided to give Tanfo Timmy from the Northwood Showdown a couple certs for him to hand out either in shooter bags or staff bags. I don't know how he ended up doing it, but for people to either get on the podcast themselves or volunteer somebody else to get on the podcast. So Luke, you're a happy recipient of one of those certs. So Luke made this happen, everybody. So you can blame him for this.
So there was actually a middleman in there. We have a friend named Alan Hinkleman. Shout out to him. He was the recipient of the cert. And he threw it my way real quick. So, yeah, it was Alan, the middleman, who got us here, but I figured it'd be a cool opportunity. We got a lot of cool things to talk about.
Oh, yes, we definitely do. And, it was kind of my first dabbling into somewhat of a form of sponsorship. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to either get your local buddy on or, somebody you'd never hear from typically. So.
It was very unique. I'd never seen that before. Very cool idea.
And if anyone's actually listening and paying attention, I think I'm sending out a couple more certs for the Minnesota Hit Factor Championship. So I'll send a couple more to Tanfo Timmy and see who he gets. But anyway, so guys, listeners, you might know these faces, might know these names if you've been in the shooting community a while. We are sitting down with Mr. Luke Faust and Mr. Casey Reed. You'll find out a little bit more about them and all the things that they do solo and together. So, Luke, I'll start with you. Just kind of give yourself your little quick spiel of who you are and how'd you get into shooting.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I am from Minnesota, mechanical engineer, work for Federal Ammunition. Always been involved in shooting. I got into it as a teenager, but not necessarily competitive shooting on a serious level until I turned about 30, so about 2020. 2019, late 2019 was my first nationals. I jumped right into USPSA. My first major was 2019 nationals, and have been pretty dedicated to the sport since. I think that would be an understatement. Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you come in right during COVID, right before COVID. You go shoot your first nationals, and then you're like, oh great, I have to figure out how to get ammunition. I mean, at that point, did you work at Federal at that point, or?
Yeah, so I started working at Federal. So I've had a couple different sports I've been passionate about or hobbies I've been passionate about through my life. I shot my first USPSA match back in 2008, but between 2008 and 2020, I maybe shot, 5 to 10 matches total. Not very many. I did a little bit of IDPA too, but I started working at Federal in 2011, and over that time, not consuming as much ammo and still buying my maximum employee allotment each year, I was able to stockpile a healthy supply, so that and that carried me through COVID. I certainly drained it during that time period, but it carried me through. And me and Casey were just actually talking about this, like. For us, like as I had just gotten into, he had obviously been shooting for a while. As I just got into it, that first year or two with, drives to the airport with no traffic, $19 flights to Florida, all of that stuff was like, it was primo. As long as they were willing to run the match, it was real easy and real cheap to get to. So it actually wasn't that bad of a time to get started.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty nice because you're working at Federal. You've got a way to get
ammo relatively easily, so it's not like you're fighting everybody on the shelves for it.
Yeah. It was certainly a good situation.
Mm-hmm. And Casey, how about yourself? How did you get into shooting, and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so similar to Luke, I started at Federal in 2011 as an intern. Previous to that, though, I really had no experience shooting pistols. I grew up hunting, mostly shotgun stuff, some rifle stuff. But yeah, I started in 2011 in Federal, and then in 2012, a coworker actually brought me to my first match, and I've been shooting ever since. So it'd be my 13th season. Yeah, that's basically it.
Gotcha. So I'm curious. In 2011, what does an intern at Federal do?
Everything: sweeping floors, loading ammo, shooting, testing, data collection. So I was a little bit of everything. I did work in development, so I kind of did, like I said, just about everything. But yeah, a lot of cleaning up, sweeping floors, working on machines, things like that.
So no coffee runs, no glorious coffee runs for everybody.
No. Usually the guys are very picky about their coffee, so they definitely don't want anybody else touching that.
Oh, fair enough. Now, Casey, are you a Minnesota native, or did you transplant there?
Nope, native.
Okay.
Yep.
So you guys are in the edge of Area 3, which I think Wisconsin honestly should be part of Area 3 because it's like it's on the wrong side of the lake.
Yep.
Area 3 or Region 3 or Area 3 can have them. But so this is kind of cool. So Casey, you said you're in R&D for Federal. Luke, what you're about yourself? What kind of?
I'm quality. I've been in quality basically my whole career. I started as an intern in manufacturing and then transitioned to quality full time.
Oh, there you go. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of interesting because what I do, I'm in quality as well, and at least my side. But I do plastics. Plastics and plastics colorants, always fun. But anywho, so how did you guys meet? So I need to know, how did you guys meet at Federal? Because I'm assuming it's a huge facility.
Yeah, I guess I'll be interested to see how what Casey's story is, because I honestly we didn't actually start like getting close, I would say, until he kind of pulled me into USPSA heavily. We had. I had been shooting. I CrossFitted for a good portion of my 20s. That was like my competitive thing that I did real hard. And as I was approaching 30, my body was done with that. And I had always kind of done competitive shooting on the side. I had shot a decent amount, maybe like a dozen IDPA matches a year or so. And he was like, "Hey man, this USPSA stuff's way better. You should come do this more." And I did. And he was right. And I started getting better, started training more, started going to him for help. Hey, how do you dry fire? How do we do this thing? And then, it kind of evolved from there.
So is that pretty similar there, Casey, or is it completely different in your mind?
No, that's exactly it. I think Luke hit it pretty hard. I mean, I forget, Luke, when did you come to Anoka? What year was that?
So I started in Anoka in 2011, and I came back in 2014.
Yeah, so I do remember seeing you in 2014, obviously seeing you around in quality and whatnot, but I kind of knew you were in CrossFit more or less, and shooting just casually. So yeah, me and him didn't really connect as far as like being good friends. But I remember when he was shooting a lot more, and I told him about USPSA around that 2019 mark, and that's kind of when we became good friends.
And I think a lot of that, and I can't remember, did Dryfire Systems, did we start traveling and shooting together before or after we started kind of down the path of Dryfire Systems?
I think 2019 we were kind of separate on some of the travel stuff, and then that's when I came to you about Dryfire Systems, though, and we started doing that. In 2020, I think during COVID, when we really started to do all the travel together and shoot a bunch of matches together.
Yeah. And that's certainly when we started hanging out more. And kind of the background on that was Casey had kind of approached me from the background I had. I coached CrossFit for about 8 years, and the background I had in coaching people and developing systems for coaching people and programming methodology behind CrossFit and so forth. And he was kind of trying to look for a way to take all the knowledge he had as a top level GM shooter and make it more accessible to more people than just the one-on-one clients he was working with locally here. And it kind of came at the perfect time for me, where I was getting into training seriously and dry firing every day, but didn't quite know exactly what I should be doing. And it all kind of came together with me taking all that knowledge I had and then being able to, and his motivation to be able to create something for the broader audience. And then my personal vested interest in, all right, well, I want the best system for me to be able to train and learn the things that he knows. And that just kind of came together to a couple of years of work, refining and evolving. And that's how that came to be.
Okay. So that's kind of cool. So if I heard that right, so you've got the coaching knowledge, from like a structural standpoint, from CrossFit. Casey's got the subject matter expert on, dry fire and pistol shooting, and you're able to you kind of took the best of both worlds, collaborated, and then eventually that was the very rough beginning of dry fire systems.
Exactly. And both being engineers, we were able to communicate on that level. Like, Casey's a very, very intuitive natural athlete. So a lot of the things that I would see him doing or the things that he would do in training, he was very intuitive in going that direction. And then I would explain it in like an engineering sense. Oh, you do this because this. And he'd kind of think about it for a minute and be like, yep, that checks out. But intuitively, he just knew because his athletic sense got him to that proper conclusion. Whereas me, I'm a little bit less athletically gifted. And I kind of have to have a mind map and a mental kind of understanding of what it is before I have any chance of being able to do it properly.
Gotcha. So, Luke, you just said you're not that athletically gifted. So why CrossFit for you?
So it was, I guess, kind of dialing back. I started in just like your traditional strength and conditioning program in high school. And as I did that for many years until I got into college and I was introduced. I had a roommate in ROTC and he introduced me to CrossFit style training. And I noticed the difference. Like, I was strong from the strength and conditioning stuff, just your typical like bodybuilder kind of workout kind of stuff. But I wasn't athletic at all. I still couldn't do a lot of the athletic things. And CrossFit not only got me way fitter than I had ever been, way faster, it also started to develop those athletic components where there's movements that involve balance, involve accuracy, involve timing, core to extremity movements with precision, and connecting your whole body, movements that use all aspects of your body. And it really helped develop my athleticism and then gave me a competitive outlet to kind of grind and throw myself fully into. And met a lot of cool people. I'd moved away from, I grew up, born in Texas, grew up in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, moved away for college and then moved back. And it really kind of established my community here within CrossFit. That's a huge part of CrossFit as a community. So.
Gotcha. This makes sense then. But I guess I lost that question, but it'll come back to me, I guess. If it strikes me, it strikes me. But so, you guys, so you said like you guys really didn't know each other or 2014-ish, maybe, and then through 2019 you actually started seeing each other more and more. Correct me if I'm wrong, but actually skip that. Go into a different question. So Casey, as Casey is the subject matter expert in pistol, right? How long did it take you from you starting to make Grandmaster? I'll start there.
I think I turned Grandmaster in 2016.
Okay. So roughly.
So yeah, 2012, I didn't really take it that seriously. I mean, I liked the sport, but I didn't really train much. And then 2013, I really became obsessed with it. Started learning how to train. 2014, I was master. And then, I was kind of master, just shooting around, winning some matches in master class. And then, 2016, I became Grandmaster.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming from 2012 to 2016, it was only production for you, or did you dabble in limited as well?
Nope, just production.
Right. And I'm assuming, Luke, when you came in the sport, did you come into production or did you come into like carry optics when you fully decided, I'm actually in the sport?
Oh, no, I resisted carry optics for as long as possible. Me and Casey both. It was production or die.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I came into production. It was, I just shot carried and shot iron sighted pistols my whole life. So that just kind of made sense to me, and 9 mil iron sighted pistols. So that just made sense.
Gotcha. Makes sense. And finally, at what point did you guys say, well, I guess I need to put red dots on my guns?
So credit to Mason Lane, I think. Mason Lane, sure. He's a traditional production shooter. I think he would call that his home division. And we're good friends with him. And talking to him, he was like, guys, I don't care if you ever shoot CO, you need to be training with it. You'll learn so much. And oh boy, was he right. He was so right. I wish I would have done it sooner, honestly.
So does that mean that you're both Luke, does that mean your primary division is now carry optics / optical sighted pistols, or are you still like a dabble in it kind of person?
I would still say that production is the division I enjoy shooting the most. That being said, given the direction the sport is going and the events, the divisions, like the PCSL divisions, especially in 2-gun, that are basically carry optics only or LO only, and the amount of that I'm doing now, and just the fact that there's really no production heat at anywhere we're going. Even though I still consider myself to be a production shooter, I spend the majority of the year in carry optics.
Okay, Casey, how about yourself?
Similar. I would say that, I'm going to use carry optics to use it for training. I'll shoot CO nats, but production's still my home. I still like going overseas and shooting production. I plan to go to World Shoot, get different IPSC matches, and over there, production is still really huge.
Right, because it's very different. A lot of them still can't shoot. 2011. It's very hard to get I'm assuming optics there for the most part, and or open guns or limited guns or standard limited guns, what we would call them. So
yeah.
But Casey, if I'm not mistaken, you've already been to at least one, maybe possibly 2 world shoots.
Correct, 2 of them. Yep.
So France and then Thailand.
Correct.
Okay, I thought so. I couldn't remember on France, but I swear that you were at Thailand. So were you on the team or were you an individual in Thailand?
I was on the team for both.
Okay. So who was on the team in France? Because this was before my time in the sport.
Yep. It was Ben Steger, Sal Luna, me, and BJ Norris.
Okay. Did you now? I don't know how the scores played out. Did your score count for the team score, or did your score get dropped?
I did not. I was 20th place overall, and I was the 4th on Team USA.
Okay. Now, do you find that the 4-man team dropped the 4th score? Is that do you feel that's appropriate, or do you think they should change that in the world shoot teams?
I don't know. It's probably fine. It's tough to say. I mean, in the U.S., it seems like the guys don't really care about the whole team score. Mm-hmm. Maybe that will start changing. The other teams, they absolutely love the team score. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's better or worse to have 4 drop the lowest one, or just have all of them. I prefer to just score all of them. Why not? You have 4 guys. Right. Why not score all of them?
And do you know the rationale behind dropping the 4th score?
I don't.
Okay.
If I were to guess, it would probably be if one guy gets DQ'd, or one guy has like a major gun breakage or go down. It doesn't take the whole team down with him. I'm guessing that would be the logical thing
probably.
behind it.
No, and that definitely makes sense. I didn't know if they had like a concrete, factual reason, but I guess using rationale probably makes sense. So
you made me think of something. I thought I was under the impression, Casey, you shot 2014 at Frostproof. Did you not shoot that?
No, I did not. 2014, when I watched that match, I made it a goal. I was like, from that day forward, I was like, I want to make the 2017 World Shoot team. So just seeing that match, I was still pretty new into the sport. I had shot my first nationals that year in 2014 in St. George, Utah. But I remember seeing the video from World Shoot in Frostproof and being like, wow, I really want to do that.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if either of you have watched this series. It's on YouTube, Hot Shots. Or we remember when they were following Casey and Max and Jerry around with all the cameras and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, that was something that got me like really hooked in the sport. Like when I first started figuring out about USPSA, I found that on YouTube, and I'm just like, I want to do that. So
Yeah.
and it was cool. It was cool to see a different side of people than you see like on the internet, like they're actually competing and having to focus at a match. But so Casey, so you've shot 2 world shoots. Which would you say was your more enjoyable experience, France or Thailand?
I would say Thailand.
Is it because you probably had more friends at the event than you did in France?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Thailand was just a great location. I got to shoot with 2017. I was still pretty new to the sport. I mean, I didn't even know Mason Lane yet. That's actually where I met Mason Lane, was at World Shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Thailand was great. I was with Sal Luna, Mason Lane, and Matthew Nash, and those are all my good friends. So I mean, it was just basically good to compete with my friends across the world. It was just a great experience.
Right, and most of them are, I'm assuming, part of Team Boneyard, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, all of them.
Yeah,
all of them.
Yes.
So from what I hear, if I can remember right, Team Boneyard knows how to throw down, right?
Shooting and partying, yes.
Yes.
So yes.
I did. So, guys, I'll be honest. I only got one listener provided question, and this one directly goes to Casey. But it's, I think he'll get a kick out of this. Let me pull it up real fast, because if I don't, I will forget, and this is the perfect time to talk about it. Load, come on. Where'd it go? Come on, don't fail me now. Oh, there we go. All right. So what is Casey's favorite beer, and why is it Busch Light?
Well, yeah, it's Busch Light, because it's the best beer. It's beer of the North. It's light. It's easy to drink. You can drink 100 of them. It's just great.
Yep, and you won't even know you had beer, except your wallet will know. Well,
yep.
God.
Cheap.
It is cheap. So I went on my soon-to-be brother-in-law's bachelor party, and I can't believe how many cases they went through. I'm not a big drinker, so they're like, you can put down a case, right? I'm like, no, maybe in like a year, like I'll put down a case. But yeah, no, that's their preferred. Are you just a standard Busch Light kind of person, or do you like mixing it up, maybe having their peach variety every once in a while?
No, just standard.
Standard. Fair enough. Luke, are you? Go ahead.
What was the match that we were in Frostproof that started the Boneyard? What match was that? Was that Nationals?
Man, jog my memory. 2021, correct?
2021 Nationals or 2020 Nationals? No, it was 2020 Nationals.
It was 2020 Nationals, correct? Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was a back-to-back in Frostproof.
Yep.
And kind of the background. So we had been traveling a bunch together throughout 2020, and when it was just me and Casey, we do a hotel, and that was easy and everything. But he had done some houses in Frostproof in the past with a big group from Minnesota. But the big group from Minnesota wasn't going anymore. They kind of phased out of shooting a little bit. So it's just me and him. But he had these awesome experiences in houses. So we're like, all right, who's cool? Who should we invite to the house? And Casey, started inviting people, and we started talking to people, and we ended up having an amazing time hanging out with all these people, and that's kind of the formation of that group. And is Boneyard a Casey Reed original, or did you get that from somewhere?
Yeah, so we used to say that all the time back in college. So I just kind of started saying it probably when I was drunk or something, or going to some party, and it just kind of caught on, and we just became the Boneyard. But yeah.
And the context. So I don't drink at all. I'm the sober one. So I'm the clear-headed record keeper memory at all these events. But boneyarding is when they finish a beer, they throw the empty can, and yell boneyard. And the first can gets thrown to a corner of the patio or deck or yard or wherever it is, and that is the boneyard for the rest of the weekend, and all the empty cans get thrown into the boneyard.
Yep.
So then who's responsible for picking up the boneyard then?
That's the beauty of our group, is that we all clean up, we all pitch in and help out, and someone does it.
Party hard, work hard.
Yep.
That's right.
I would say the person who, if anyone gets DQ'd, they're the one who has to clean up the boneyard. The price to pay. No, that is hilarious. And that's the best part about this, right? We do this to be competitive and want to be better at pistol shooting, but it's also about the camaraderie and the friendships we gain along the way. Like, I don't know why I don't know why people would do this if they didn't have friends in it. Like, I couldn't be a complete loner, right? Like, you would have no fun on a squad.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I mean, from 2013 to 2019, for me, I did travel a lot alone. I mean, I was making friends. Like, obviously, I was friends with like Sal and Mason, Wanzik, and some of these guys, but I'm not staying with them. So I would stay alone in hotels. And yeah, it's just not the best experience. I've had way more fun in the last 4 or 5 years now traveling with these guys. So I totally agree.
So as you mentioned, you'd go by yourself or get a hotel, and now get in these houses. Is it always worth getting a house? Like, I mean, obviously, if you've got the people to split the cost up, but can it be a pain in the butt to deal with, like getting a Airbnb or VRBO?
So I do all the logistics for the group.
See, the sober one's gonna do all the logistics.
That's right.
Yes. I rent the minivan to drive them around. I coordinate the house. I do all that stuff. If we'll pack a decent amount of people into the houses. You have people who like to have their own room and space and get their own room, and then you have guys that are like, make it as cheap as possible. I will sleep in a closet. And we do that. We pack a decent number of people in the house. It always ends up being cheaper than a hotel. Sometimes depending on the area, maybe it's almost the same price, maybe just a little bit cheaper or comparable, but you end up with a way better living situation and amenities. There's definitely been some Airbnb problems from the house, the more minor problems where the pool doesn't work or the hot tub doesn't work, to the more major problems where the whole house is disgusting. There's no sheets on the bed, and everything else that was wrong with the infamous deer house.
Oh, so in that situation, what did you end up doing? Don't tell me you stayed there.
We did. So I've learned all the intricacies of Airbnb and VRBO and what you should and shouldn't do. Can I swear on this? I've almost sworn like 3 times. Is that a go?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So with VRBO, if you have an issue with the house, you are completely fucked. Good luck. You will never get your money back. Just tough it out. Which means I don't use VRBO anymore. Mm-hmm. Airbnb, they are good to work with, but you have to react immediately. You cannot come into the house, sleep a night, and then find out the pool doesn't work. It's going to suck for you. The only time that Airbnb will have your back is you literally, we did a walkthrough, we walked out, and it is not up to snuff. We need a refund. And then they got you. They'll work with you. And they'll get you your refund. So, we've had enough situations. We've done this enough time, probably, I don't know, a dozen or more events that, we've what is it? Class 3 fun or grade 3 fun? What is it, Casey?
Type 2 fun.
Type 2 fun, where you suffer together and it ends up being fun. We've had those situations, and we, just like looking at this last trip, the logistics were so fucking smooth. Just because we've done it enough times, we know the house. We got a house that we like in this area. We've learned, all right, we need this much food at Costco, etc. And it goes super smooth, and it's a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, one thing I was always complain about, at least maybe it's on a logistical side about like Airbnb houses, is that people who sometimes book the place count beds and not necessarily count rooms. It's like, okay, it'll sleep 13, but they're all queen beds, and they expect everybody to be bunking up with sleeping in the same bed with each other. And I'm like, it's a house full of dudes. I'm not I'm sorry, but I ain't cuddling with you.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of those pitfalls in listing. They try to boost their bed count as much as possible. So I have no qualms about sending messages to owners. Obviously I'm looking at pictures. Pictures almost always tell all, and you want to go to listings that have the rooms broken out and labeled and captions on all the pictures. Oh, this is the upstairs room with the king and the single and the etc. And so you kind of get a feeling for the listings. You communicate with the owners ahead of time, And then I know our crew. So it's like, all right, Mason and Kaylee, the couple, I almost always am putting them in a master in their own room. And I know that like Phil and Casey and Matt, if they can get their own rooms, they'll take they'd like to pay extra for their own room. But if I have to bunk them up together or whatever with other guys in a shared, let's say you got two singles or a bunk bed or whatever, they're down for it. And then you have the other guys like me or Darrison or whatever who will sleep on a couch, a floor, an air mattress, whatever. It's all good. Mm-hmm. And then, pricing accordingly too, like adjusting, like everybody, it's not just divided equally. It's all right. Well, it's this much for your solo room, this much for a shared room, and this much to sleep on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Does that include the Busch Light though?
It does not.
No. I being that some of the guys in the house don't drink, I roll food into it. Like we'll cook for the house. I'll do a lot of cooking for the house, so we'll roll food into the overall cost. But it's buy your own beer.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Now, so on Team Boneyard, is anyone a terrible snorer that like has to be like secluded from the group, or is everyone pretty kosher?
I don't know, Casey.
Yeah, not snoring. I don't think so. Anyway, I can be wrong. Maybe Phil. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think maybe Phil's the only one. And I've only had a room fit with Phil once in Maine. But other than that, I don't think anybody else. And honestly, he's not that bad. I've seen worse for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's always the guy who. There's always the story of somebody who knows who's the worst snorer.
Yeah, we don't have anybody too bad, thankfully.
Yeah, that could make it for a very bad nationals, very bad like big match. It's just like I got no hours of sleep because this guy just kept snoring logs. So all right, I'm gonna break this part of the conversation off. I want to dabble a little bit about federal, and then we got to get into talking about the nationals that just happened. So because it's fresh on my mind and probably still fresh in your brain. So with federal, you know. Casey's in R&D. You're in quality, Luke. How crazy is it at federal right now?
So, yeah, it's I don't know. It's I wouldn't say that as the market changes, maybe the attitudes and the approach at the top change, but for me, as I'm working on just the daily grind of putting out ammo, there's never been a time that, and it's not necessarily putting out ammo on my side, but making sure we're putting out quality ammo. My approach has always been the same. It doesn't matter. I want to make sure that the ammunition that we put out is the end user has a great experience, a safe experience and a great experience. And that mission doesn't change. Market factors don't change that mission. Market demand doesn't change that mission. How much volume we're doing doesn't change that mission. So, at least where I'm sitting, it doesn't change much, honestly.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Casey? Is anything going crazy over on your side in R&D?
I mean, R&D side, it's a little bit different than Luke's side because, he's like the grind of getting out quality ammo. For me, it can change based on the market, right? So if the market's soft, we're trying to come up with more new products to kind of bump that up. And then vice versa, if the market's really, really hot right now and people are just want cheap ammo, we may back off on some, new stuff and, so supporting manufacturing or quality in that regard.
Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily know, Federal's, demographic, but I'm assuming it's still mostly pistol calibers that is the highest demand that goes out the door.
Yeah, I would say right now 9mm is carrying the industry for sure. I honestly don't know what it ends up being in volume or dollars or anything like that. Once again, I'm laser focused on quality.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, that's the best part about quality is like I just get to stay in my own little bubble, and I can tell production that they suck and we need to fix their problems. I mean, that's as I put it in my office. The quality lab is not the QC lab; it is the room of bad news, because it's usually telling people that they've done fucked up and we got to fix it. And it's usually the problem is, oh, y'all fucked it up. Now quality's got to fix your problems. But I mean, when it comes to making bad ammo, like It's just pretty much probably a lost money. You can't really rework bad ammo for the most part, right?
It really depends on the problem. There's so many things that, federal really does hold really high standards. We test a lot of things that an end user would never even notice. And we make sure to set up our systems where we stop it and hold it and, quarantine it for conditions that are, multiple factors of safety away from anything that an end user would ever notice. And so, in those situations, there is further investigation that happens to see, hey, is this, what product family is this in, and what needs to be done in this situation. So, it really just depends on the situation. There's certainly, anytime there's anything that's safety related, it's absolutely scrapped out immediately. Other times, it's a evaluation of looking at what that specific situation is and how it needs to be handled.
Gotcha. All right. So Casey, when it comes to R&D, how many days a week are you actually like shooting for R&D purposes?
Probably once or twice a week, on average.
And I'm assuming that's probably just some test firing stuff, not really dynamic testing.
Yeah, correct. It could be shooting accuracy, it could be shooting gel, P&V stuff, function. Yeah, it could be a variety of different things, but typically it was like once or twice a week.
Gotcha.
Everybody thinks like shooting at work would be fun. Like, oh, it is fun to work on products you're passionate about, but the actual shooting that we do in the alleys at work is not fun shooting 99% of the time.
Yeah. It's dark, it's dingy down there, it's messy. You're down there just to it's kind of a grind more than anything.
Yeah, you're doing a lab test, you're not training and having fun.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would I can definitely imagine that. You're in this pit of an old no lit terrible lights indoor range that you're just like, well, it went off. We're good. It passed our quality checks. Every parameter we needed. We're good. God, and I could just think, we're going to change this load by 0.01 grains or something, or some silliness to make it more effective. You know what I mean? Like, God, that could be just boring. Just little test batches of ammo. Just you have to go and shoot and then collect data. And I'm assuming go ahead.
We have a whole staff of 20 some gunners who that's literally their role is shooting. They shoot tests 24/7, 365. They're down there shooting tests in all the plants: centerfire, rimfire, shot shell, primer. Just testing. So it's a never-ending stream. I imagine if you stacked up the shots being fired at any given point in time, that plant probably goes never more than a 5-minute period without a shot being fired.
Mm-hmm. And would the surrounding area around the facility, would people know that's happening around there, or?
No, all the alleys are underground. You can't hear a thing from outside of the facility.
So is the federal headquarters? Does that actually look like? Does it look cool, or does it just looks like some creepy factory warehouse looking thing?
They've done some, so on the outside, they've done some things that look really cool. They have, a really nice sign and decent presentation on the outside. As any old factory is going to be, I mean, we're over 100-year-olds. We just had our 100-year anniversary. As any old factory is going to be, there's certainly some creepy areas to it. But they try to make it look nice where they can.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's anything. Is there anything that you guys want to actually share to the public about, federal, anything cool that you can share or whatnot? Or if not, don't feel like you got to share anything. That's totally cool too.
I guess the only thing I would talk about really is for action shooting. We've had for a while the Syntec 150 grain. We have a new product that hasn't gotten much publicity yet, but is out there, is certified USPS ammo, and that's the gold medal action pistol. That's kind of me and Casey's project that we've worked on for a couple years here, and it's designing with the resource that we have at Federal, the best round that we want to shoot in competition. So it's a 147 grain. It's everybody loves the Syntec for its soft shooting, its clean shooting, low smoke, reliable primer, obviously, and it's just swapping that bullet with a full metal jacket, cup and core bullet, a TMJ actually, and it was super, super accurate, and just a great overall round for USPSA.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Now, why switch the bullet? Why get away from the lead coated bullet for that product offering?
Yeah, from the powder coated bullet to the cup and core.
Yep.
So cup and core bullets are just more robust. They're more expensive, but and that's reflected in the price. It's not a cheap offering. It's certainly a super premium offering. But cup and core bullets, they're just going to be more accurate. They're going to feed better. They're going to be more robust to a variety of guns in different situations and everything. There's some situations and some guns that just don't play well with coated bullets, and the cup and core jacketed bullets, that's been the standard in our industry for a long time for good reason. It's just a system that really works.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense then. Now that you explain it, it makes sense. But that's pretty cool. So I do want to talk. I want to switch. I want to talk about nationals. Obviously, it just happened last weekend. I'm assuming you both shot PM, AM, PM schedules.
Oh yeah, we're in the Boneyard squad.
Okay.
Or SIG. I mean, it was the SIG squad. No, it was the Boneyard squad.
So, what squad number was that?
203.
Okay.
So we were right in that same zone with all the super squads and everything.
Okay, so by the time, because I arrived late, like an hour and a half into shooting on Saturday morning, so you guys must have been right in the dirt bays in zone 2 then. Yes,
right as the yep.
Because I remember the super squad was at stage 9 by the time I rolled around, because I did see Mason. It was cool. You go watch the super squad shoot, and only one of them recognizes you and talks to you. It was actually Mason, so it was kind of cool. Everyone else was too serious. It was kind of interesting though this year, as Shane and JJ were not on the super squad. They were on the other. They were on the other half of a super squad, essentially.
Yeah. It was really, honestly, like when you looked at the roster in zone, starting in zone 1, 201 through 206. I mean, it was a whole super zone, if you will. Every single squad had top level guys in it.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, it was. There was so much talent at this match. It is absolutely crazy. So, let's see. I know Casey finished 23rd. So, were you still happy with that performance, or did you feel like you left some meat on the bone, or did any big major catastrophes happen to you during the match?
Yeah, I mean, overall I shot pretty well. I mean, day 1 I shot really well. Day 3 I didn't shoot as well as I wanted to, but I mean, 23rd was still pretty good. I was hoping for maybe a top 15 finish, but I still shot solid.
Yeah, just under 9%, behind Eric. I mean, it's still very, Nationals is always like this. It's these incremental, everyone's so damn compacted and compressed. I mean, one point difference could have changed, one target could have completely changed the standings on this one too, so.
Yeah, for sure.
So you said that you weren't, day 3 was a little rough for you. Was it because it was the farther shots, or was it just kind of like it's the last day of Nationals, kind of like the mental fatigue, or?
No, it wasn't fatigue. It was more just I didn't perform. I had a few penalties, which really hurt me. So it's just more of you got to shoot clean. You got to shoot well the whole time. Like you said, like one mic could change you down 10 places at this match. It's so compacted, so tight, so much talent.
Mm-hmm. This is true. So between the two of you, which zone did you guys end up liking the most? Like either the stages, or I mean, obviously it could be based on your performance, or just the pure quality of the stage.
For me, the whole fucking match was amazing. It was the best national stages I've shot yet. I thought that because because of the ways the bays are at that range at the Cardinal Center, you have to have very different flavors in each zone. It's just the way that it is. Given you have the dirt berms and the other berm, and the size of the base change and so forth. So I don't think that if isolated, any one of the, like, to say, zone 1 by itself was the best. Well, yeah, it was a very different flavor than zone 3. But to have a complete match, I feel like you have to have all of that together. And Matt Hopkins, the stage designer, did an amazing job, like making sure that every stage had its own unique flavor, and that when you zoomed out in the bigger picture, you had you hit every skill. You had a really well balanced match.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Now, I went and watched on Saturday, at least, and if I remember correctly, Zone 1, there's a lot of stages I felt in Zone 1 and maybe even a little bit in Zone 2A, I'll call it, where you had to go, and maybe even in 3, there were stages that you had to go into a spot and then you have to work your way back out of that spot behind, like, you got to do a bunch of L-shaped movements to get around all these walls. Did that affect you? Did that did you feel like that was a little too much in that match, or is that just me being too hyper analyzing this?
So I've thought a lot about this, and I'll let Casey throw in his opinion too. I loved it, and the thing that I loved about it is you have to drag down like those hit factors in those small bays can get ridiculously high if you don't do something to drag down the factor. And this sport has a physical component in it. It has, a movement aspect to it. And if you don't have a huge bay to make people cover long, straight distances, then you got to make them chop it up and move in quick cuts and changing directions and that L-shaped movement. And so I loved seeing it. I loved that it created a little bit more technical stages with technical movement and drug down the factors in those smaller stages.
Mm-hmm.
Casey?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, I love being dynamic. I mean, we've had nationals where 6, 7 stages are standing there and shooting. And like you said, you got to find a way to drag down those factors. You got a way to make it dynamic and try to include as many skills as possible. Coming from IPSC, that's what it is too. Like, there is no stand and shoots in IPSC. It can be a 12-round course, but it could have four different positions to go to. So I completely agree. I love that. It's so much movement.
Mm-hmm. Now, did this feel more like an IPSC Nationals or a World Shoot compared to, other nationals?
Yeah, I think so. 1, because of the movement, like Luke was talking about. 2, all IPSC targets. Mm-hmm. And then 3, yeah, I mean, just your factors were probably average, probably a little bit lower than other past nationals.
Right. So, and if I'm not mistaken, they had IPSC waterproof targets. Am I not mistaken, or were they just regular IPSC targets for this match?
They were regular.
For the standard.
Yeah. So for your movers, they did waterproof, and then for the rest of them, it was just regular. Okay.
Because I do remember seeing a couple times on Saturday afternoon where they called for bags, and I was just it was surprising because I thought the whole appeal of going to the IPSC targets, all IPSC targets, was because they got a really good deal on IPSC waterproof targets, but I guess they weren't all waterproof. So
I think that's the IPSC target thing, I think, is a stylistic thing for Matt Hopkins. I went to his Area 3 matches that he's done, and he's done all IPSC targets there. It's kind of one of his signature moves that make it a Matt Hopkins design match. And I think it's a really cool move and a good move. I think that the IPSC target, in my mind, for creating separation, even in shooters' abilities and allowing the shooters that have higher abilities to separate themselves, I think it's just a better all around target.
Mm-hmm. Well, and your aiming spot has to be completely different on an IPSC target compared to a USPSA target. If you aim at an IPSC target like you would like a USPSA, you're shooting way more Charlies just because of how the shape of the target is. And in this match, alphas were king because you have less of an alpha zone. You can't accept a million Charlies at nationals, especially in minor.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to say, if I have the math in my head correctly, the aiming zone is kind of the same, but it just looks different in the sense of, if you take the body of a USPSA target the center of the A zone is 2 inches above the center of the body. And if you do the same thing with a IPSC target, it's roughly the same. I think it's 2 or 3 inches above the center of the thing is the center of the A zone. It might actually be like 3 inches above, but it's very similar where you're aiming just a little bit above the center of the body of the main portion of the target. Just the difference being, a significantly smaller A zone, and a lot less margin for error to get an A.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. Now, did you feel that I know we've talked about the stages a little bit and you've liked them. Did you feel any stage there was any gimmicks in this match? Oh, okay.
No, I can't think of any, and I loved that aspect of it. There was no stage that as well that I like having to figure out a stage. I really enjoy the aspect of like figuring out a stage, but there was no stage that was so complicated and so like memory component wise that you were like, God, I just need to survive through this. I just need to make sure I don't forget a target. There was nothing like that. Every single one was like, all right, there's different ways to approach this, different ways to shoot it, depending on, your skill set, how you like to move, left-handed, right-handed, whatever. But everything was pretty much, we're going to measure, it's going to be a measurement of your skill as a shooter and not, as Mason likes to say, a slot machine.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Now, I think there was only one stage that pretty much everyone had shot it the same way, relatively, and that was the shaky bridge, because everyone went to the right and then came back and shot to the left. I mean, I bet that was the only stage that was pretty much cut and dry, right? Everything else pretty much had a lot more options, or there was plenty of different ways to run those stages.
Yeah, and I think even on that one, it had a little bit of variability in the sense of like how you did the sequencing on the left side after you came across the bridge and that activator sequence, how you handled that. I saw a lot of people approach that a lot of different ways. As a lefty, I made it work on the right side, but depending on how tall you are and what handed you are, you had to kind of approach that lean in a couple different ways. The only other stage that had a lot of, pretty much I saw everyone nearly do it the same, was the one of the double bays, or maybe even both of the double bays. Those small short courses, everybody tends to do it all the same way.
Right. There's probably not much you're only splitting hairs at that point if you take one target in a different way than another, and they're just filler stages, I would say. But I mean, they still can be good stages, but they're adding to the round count of the match and the stage count.
Yeah, I really liked the way they used them this year. I thought they, and we talked about this in regards to a different local, but the double bay just kind of does break up the match a little bit. I've never recognized that before, but it's kind of as you shoot big field course, and then you come into these short little stages, it really does kind of break up the monotony as a shooter. I think I was surprised by how much value I just noticed them adding after being to a couple majors prior that just had big field courses. So I actually did think they added some value. The fixed time stage is just a really cool thing, and they did it very well this time. Some of the other short courses were just really fun, short execution. I really didn't feel like they were filler. I feel like when we have short courses that are stand-and shoots, or short courses that just have a bunch of strong hand weekend stuff or whatever, I feel like that's filler. These were all really fun. They had a fun aspect to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Agreed.
And I bet it was pretty cool because you could play a little bit of pickleball while it was raining or on the pickleball stage.
That did happen during that lightning break. Casey and Lutman were tearing it up in the under one of the awnings.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there any opportunity to actually go play games of pickleball like after the match, or was it just all smashing bush lights?
Day 2, Saturday, we went. We shot morning on day 2, and so we went and played after. Mm-hmm. There's some courts about 15 minutes from Airbnb.
Oh, nice. Did everyone bring their own rackets, or did they have to borrow rackets from the facility?
Yep. Everyone has one. We actually had boneyard paddles made up.
Oh, there you go. It's pretty cool. And that, whenever people stop wanting to be competitive in shooting, they can just go play. I'll just play pickleball. Be like, I'm gonna hang up the pistols. We're just gonna go play mini tennis. Now,
Casey's been tempted plenty of times, I'm sure.
Oh, I could imagine. It's just like, oh, this is not working. Just go get the darn the racket and the ball and go play. Actually, like 2 blocks away from my house, they're putting in an outdoor pickleball court. So, darn dog noise. Like the one time it's like, Lord have mercy. Of course, happened to be dog sitting this week for someone else's dog, and it's just going. My dog and him are just like wanting to play. Of course. Hopefully, you listeners don't listen to this. I'm listening to it full bore. But anywho, so that's cool. Obviously, it's even cooler for Luke because Luke, you won your class, right? Thank you for watching another episode of Manny Talks Shooting. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could do me a favor, go check out our sponsors when you are available. We've got D2 Custom Guns, Hunter's HD Gold, Go Fast Don't Suck, Outdoor Dynamics, Make Stuff Better, 2 Alpha Apparel, RangePanda.com, Summit City Bullets, Laugh and Load, Southern Bobby Q, and the Tom Castro Shooting Academy. Now let's get back to this awesome episode.
Yeah, that was cool.
Did you do the Boneyard style beer smash and go get your award with the picture with E-Min?
Yeah. Remember I don't drink, so my water bottle smash. But no, it was actually kind of a surprise to me. I don't really care that much about by that much I mean at all about class stuff. I'm really focused. I'm a very, very analytical engineer. I'm just looking at percentages, and I have calculators and spreadsheets to track my progress, percentage at majors, normalizing nationals, very similar to like the ELO stuff that they do. And I'm always just trying to push that number farther and farther. So this, in every statistical measure, this was my best performance that I've ever had at a nationals. And I was stoked about that, even given some adversity that I had climbed through on this one. So 70, relative placing, 79th place versus, I've had other nationals that like limited 10 nationals. I think I was in the top 10 at one of them, but it doesn't relative placing doesn't tell the numbers as much as looking at the percentage and looking at how that percentage tracks up over time. And same thing with class wins. Class win doesn't tell you as much as, I'm not looking to win my class. I'm looking to get to the top. So it was cool. It was nice. But the percentage is what I'm more stoked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you shot your classifications percentage against a world champion.
Yes, that's awesome. I'd shot because I shot like 81 point something. I think 81.55. I think it rounds up to like 82. I've had another nationals that I shot 82%, but it was limited 10. And it was limited 10. And I think another one that I was at like 80, but busting out of the 70s is tough to do. It took I've been grinding for a couple of years to start having finishes consistently up into the 80s, even just the lower 80s. It's quite for because I think a lot of people get in this where you see some people who come into the sport and they just have a ton of natural talent and they just rocket up to the top, and great for them. And then you see a lot of other people who come in and they kind of settle in where maybe their natural gift or their natural aptitude for the sport settles them in at, whether that be C class, B class, A class, M class, and then they kind of stall out. And it's when you hit that point, it just takes a lot of grinding to get every single percentage from then on out. And been on the grind for a couple of years, and it's good to see that I'm moving forward. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's honestly a fantastic segue to talk about our final major topic of the night. Dryfire systems, right? As you talk about grinding and get that percentage up and up, how much of your progression do you contribute to the using Dryfire systems, creating it and actually using it yourself?
God, the vast majority. There's obviously there's a huge component of it, which is discipline and the obsessive nature to just get after it. But working. There's only so much work you can do. Your body gives out. You can only grip the gun so long. You can only train so much. And trust me, I know I push those limits every day. And I think, and I don't know if Casey had told me this at one point, or if this is just something that I came up, like working smarter is the only option in order to progress at any meaningful rate. And so working with Casey got me working smarter, and working smarter meant that I was able to progress at a meaningful rate. And so it's the system. The system basically was how to me trying to figure out how to use how he trains and turn it into a system so that I can use it and break it down and use it to climb my way to the top.
Gotcha.
And then by the time I was done with that, it was like, hey, let's this is pretty sweet. Let's offer it to everybody and anybody we can.
Fair enough. So you took Casey's workouts and his Dryfire and probably live fire regiment and then turned that into a program. So Casey, how did you get to where that was at, right? What made you decide to do those type of things and those drills and those skill checks?
I mean, just years of just trying things out. I think of like today, people coming into sports and how much content there is out there and how much stuff is out there compared to when I started, and it just wasn't there. I mean, Ben Steger was maybe releasing his first book or two around the time I first started, but yeah, I mean, just trial and error. I mean, I went through many years of practicing. I mean, I was kind of like Luke. I was like so much volume, so much grinding. And I obviously progressed, but now I think about now, it's like, wow, I can literally train half the time and do more. So it's really just kind of being refined over the years, and even still is getting refined. I mean, people like, it's not just like Luke. I gave Luke my workouts and we put it in and it was done. Like, we've been refining it for the past 3-4 years now, and it's still getting refined all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, and it's nice because it keeps things fresh and it changes everything. It's not like, oh, it's the third Monday of the month, we're going to do the same drill, right? There's always that different flow. I guess let's back up because I know about it because I've been doing it a little bit. I will be honest, I've been slacking a little bit on my daily dry fire, but when I do dry fire, I have been hitting the dry fire system. I feel bad because I need to change my arrays already. I'm like, darn it. And that's my pain in the butt. My space is not that, one wall is not long enough to accommodate. I think I need to hack off a foot of the gap from the corner to the start of the first targets, and then I will have room for everything, because I kind of squished everything at the last pages or so that were on the wall. I had to you're just going to get real squishy.
And that's what we say right in the kind of work instruction at the front of those is like, we're showing you the absolute ideal setup, but you're going to get 99% of the value setting it up however the hell you can make work in your space, So this is just the ideal. We like to, we want to take all the decision making out of your training, in the sense of what you're going to do, how you're going to set up your room, and we want you, the shooter, completely focused on how do I make myself better? How do I do these skills? How is this a better way to draw, or is this a better way to draw? Am I target focused, or am I, not target focused? Like, we want you thinking about those things. We don't want you thinking about how should I arrange my room? What drills should I do today? What things should I work on? And so the ideal target configuration that we give you is just that. It's just taking one less decision for you to make on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And I know for myself, without a form of guidance, I'm just doing the monotonous same things. Like, for a long time when I was in carry optics, it was, well, I'm just going to do reloads because I enjoy these. Not that they actually added any more value into my training or performance at a match. It was, seeking that sexy sub 1 second 1 second reload. Mm-hmm. But it didn't gain me anything other than some hella bad tennis elbow.
Yeah, and you see that bias, and we talk about that a little bit on the website, but you see a couple different bias. You see people doing things that they like to do in training. They bias themselves towards that. And by the way, I see this in CrossFit too. This is totally a CrossFit thing. Like, the big, strong guys who come from lifting, they like to lift. And it's what's the most beneficial thing for them? To do a bunch of cardio. And the cardio bunnies, what's the most beneficial thing for them? To bias them more towards lifting. So it's kind of trying, somewhat randomized system and or balanced system breaks people out of what they like to do. And then also, people have bias to what's easy. Like, oh, I don't feel like setting up my fault line today or my barrier, so I'm just not going to use it or whatever. They bias to what's an easy setup or an easy drill, or they don't want to have to think about, oh, should I work on some leans? How should I arrange the targets for stuff like that? And it just takes all of that out of it and it says, here's the work that you need to do today. Do it. Mm-hmm. And based upon not necessarily our opinions, but if you saw some of the content we put out, based upon nationals data, we mined went through and broke down every stage at every nationals since I started shooting, so all the way back to 2020 or 2019, and used that data to say, all right, how many, and then categorized all the different skills. So, first off, all right, how are we going to categorize this? Let's just take the draws, for example. We categorize 3 different types of draws that you're going to do in the sport. You're either going to do a static draw, you're going to do what we call a moving draw, which is where you're prioritizing the draw over the movement. You're typically doing less than 4 feet of movement. So it's like a draw where you step into the shooting area. And then our third type of draw is what we call an exit draw, where you're doing the draw, but you're prioritizing the movement over the draw itself. So typically in an exit draw, your hands won't even come together. You're just one hand getting the gun out of the holster and running. And so once we had those definitions of, we have a static draw, a moving draw, exit draw. Now at nationals, how often do those come up? Let's put that all into a spreadsheet. All right, stage 1, moving draw. Stage 2, this. Stage 3, this. And then you do that over years and years across different divisions and different nationals, and you have a really good understanding of what our sport is. Now do that same thing for transition with reloads. Movement like exits and entries, blends, shooting on the move, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you start to get percentages and data on what this sport really is as defined by USPSA nationals. That was what we decided we wanted to focus on. And then we can take all that data and say, all right, what do people need to be doing on a daily basis, and integrate that in from a data-driven perspective of, all right, these are the frequencies that we need to hit these skills, and then how can we layer this in a way that integrates those percentages and those ratios into the most optimal way of training, from both my experience as a coach and Casey's experience, kind of finding his own way to a top level GM.
Mm-hmm. Anything to add to that portion, Casey?
No, I mean, what he just explained was that, it started from what was in my head, right? Mm-hmm. And then using data then to keep progressing it and, like I said, categorizing those different things. And a lot of the stuff was kind of already in my head, but just to put it on paper and to see it and actually get data behind it, just refined it, that's just that much better.
Right. So between you and Luke, you went through pretty much all of your nationals match footage from, that whole time period and looked at it. Do you guys feel that the sport has changed in the last couple of years to reduce essentially strong hand, weak hand shooting, much more fields? Did we eliminate some of those skills that people should be working on, or is it just still very prominent but less than it was?
So I actually can put out that data very factually, like this is what it is to what it is. I haven't looked closely at that, so I don't necessarily want to speak on that without data. Mm-hmm. That being said, there's 2 things I want to touch on there. The first one is something that's just kind of a cool anecdote. When we first did the Dryfire Systems workouts, it wasn't based upon data. It was based upon Casey's intuitive sense. Hey, Casey, how many, what should be our ratio of short transitions to wide transitions? And Casey goes, probably about 90-10, right? I'm like, all right, Casey, how many, how much should we do wrists above shoulders versus wrists below belt? How much should we do entries versus exits? How much should we do this, that? And he just guessed at all these percentages. He adjusted it. He would see how workouts came out and then adjust the numbers and everything. And then I actually, a couple years later, probably 6 months, a year later, I said, hey, why don't we see what the data actually says? And we integrated the data. And maybe that was in 2021 or 2022. I don't remember. And all this motherfucker's percentages were like dead on. It was like his intuitive sense of what the sport was just like right there within a couple percent every time, which on one sense was really affirming that we were going in the right direction. And so that was just kind of cool to see. But as far as the evolution of the sport, as different as it looks, at least in the little stuff that I've done, it's really very similar. We're talking about very minute changes in the flavor, but the overall flavor of the sport is really. As I input each year, I add in all the data from each nationals, and really the percentages have not changed in any meaningful way for the last 3 years that we've been doing this.
Right. So when you mine data or put data into your system, do you separate the different nationals out, like Optics Nationals data solely, and then like Open PCC and then handgun, or do you take all that data for nationals of 2024 and lump it all into one lump sum and then throw it into your metrics?
We have it separate. It's entered separately. I could analyze it separately, but we integrate it for our final program because we are catering to shooters who shoot every division. So we try to integrate it as much as possible, so that we're getting the aggregate of all divisions, at least all handgun divisions. We do focus on handgun. We don't really address, our workouts can be used for PCC. Absolutely. I'll use them, when I'm training up for like a 2-gun stuff, they can be adapted to 2-gun, rifle, PCC, whatever, but they're, at least our data is definitely focused on handgun stuff.
Mm-hmm. That is the nice thing is you're taking the data from the matches and actually putting it towards training, right? Instead of a feeling. It's not a feel. Well, I mean, Casey's intuition was very spot on in the beginning, but it's not about, I feel like doing this. It's like, no, you'll actually see this stuff in a nationals match. This is the stuff you should probably be working on if you want to be nationally or regionally competitive, right? One thing I really love is, there's the drill. Like you'll get the workout for the week, right? It's always going to be so you have your what is it? Every 6 months you'll swap out
targets.
Yep, and then every week you've got your new, or I think it's every week, or maybe even 2 weeks.
Yep. We do a week at a time in each page, and it's a week of workouts at a time, and then every day, every workout, you will never see a repeat. Like it has the same general structure, which we actually have a really cool graphic that I should repost on our Instagram, but that kind of shows why and how we structure the workouts, how we do. It's building levels of complexity throughout the workout. But the workouts themselves have a similar structure, but always different, always unique. Every day is different. And a wide variety of drills that get mixed in. And so, yeah, every day is different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I love the fact that there's a video of Casey doing the drill so people can understand that, right? There's the words, but then there's Casey doing the drill in his sterile white space. Now, did you borrow somebody's space to do that, or do you actually have that sterile white room in your home?
So I remodeled my house to be able to film downstairs in that sterile white space. So,
okay.
Yeah, that is literally my basement. I have everybody comments on that, I have a garage that is kind of outfitted somewhat similar. You can see the room I'm in is quite sterile and white. It's I guess just how I live my life to a certain extent, but remodel the basement to be optimal for filming down there.
But it's also nice because there's no visual distraction, no visual clutter in the video for the drill. You're just totally focused on the drill.
That's exactly why we did it that way. That was exactly what I was going for. Is I like to eliminate any kind of distraction in my own life, and I wear the same T-shirt every day. I got 20 of them, the same pants, the same everything, same. So I try to apply that. And the same thing when you look at the website, like very clean. No, there's not 15 different buttons to get you to the same end place. It's very clean, very streamlined, little clutter, straight to the business.
Mm-hmm. And especially for those personalities that don't need any form of distractions. Life's already distracting enough to have to be like, oh, look at the pretty picture. Or it's always the the captchas, that it's like find the crosswalks, and then you're like, I guess that's a crosswalk though. And you've got to figure out to prove that you're not a robot for some reason.
Yeah.
But I was curious about this. So can you see how many times your targets have been downloaded off the website?
That's actually a good question. I have never checked that. I don't even know if I can. But I will look at that. That is an interesting question.
Because I'm kind of curious.
We offer those for free.
Right. But I'm also curious due to the fact that you offer 3rd scale and 6th scale of USPSA, IPSC, and PCSL.
Yep.
I'm blanking if you do IDPA, but I mean it's not
we did IDPA back in some prior years, but we had so few people that actually used them that we kind of went. It just wasn't worth the effort for one client, if you will.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, an IPSC target, or even, they can use a USPSA target for whatever their purposes are, that one person. Yeah. But I'm curious about, how many people set up a 1/6 scale, all 1/6 scale arrays? Or, I mean, I've, as someone who's grown up with the Ben Steger Dryfire targets, everything's been pretty much everything's been 1/3. Or it's either 1/3 or it's a full-size target in the middle of my Dryfire room to either be a barrier, or I need to murder this target hosing style. So I like that. And that was a big problem for me too, is like, okay, this target is a simulated 5-yard target, but it's still super tiny. So then there's no urgency on speed on the target. Right. So that's why I'd always throw in a full-size target in the room, just to be like, yeah, I know how fast I can shoot this target.
Yeah. So one of the things I think that Casey commented on when we first started doing the arrays, because, and just for all the listeners, like, our arrays are optional. You can still do the workouts fully with your own setup, your own targets. That is a way to do it. We did. I think your original question you asked, like, how many people are doing it, and we polled our members. We polled our members a couple times and done surveys, and I think it was like a third. A third of our members use our targets exactly how they're supposed to be laid out. A third of them use a mix of our targets and their own targets, and a third of our members use their own targets. And I don't think we've ever asked how many people use the 1/6 versus the 1/3. At least from watching our members' videos as they're training and giving them feedback on stuff, it seems like almost everybody's using the 1/6. We added in the 1/3. Honestly, that was kind of a personal thing for me, because I created a large space. I converted my garage to a gym during COVID and was able to do it. So I said, hey, I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it for me anyway, so I might as well share it with everybody as well. And so for people who are able to train in their garage, or maybe they have one wall that's a 1/6, but they got another big wall that they can do as a 1/3, like, have at her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not everyone is fortunate to have a basement, a garage, a whole spare bedroom to dry fire in. I mean, that's the benefit of not having children. You can just, like, this room is my dry fire space. Leave it be, right? You got the dry fire shorts sitting on the bench. You got the belt and the gun somewhere, and you're ready to go.
The key is the indoor dry fire shoes too. That's something I taught Casey. Having another pair of shoes set for dry fire. That's key. Yep. No dropping mags on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
did that for years.
Oh, that is painful, especially right on the big toe or the pinky toe.
Oh yeah.
But now the question is, do you replicate your match shoes, or are you comfortable shoes? Like I'm a Crocs guy inside. Like, you won't find me inside with other shoes.
No, it's usually just like an old pair of shoes I used in the past at the range.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for Luke, he has like 10 pair of the same shoes, so it's no problem for him.
Yeah,
but.
yeah.
Do they have your name in the side of them too? Do you write Luke on them so no one ever steals you, or what? Do you number them? That's a better question. Do you so if I've got 10 pairs of the same shoes, is this 1A and 1B?
So you're really trying to dive into how deep is my tism here, huh?
A little bit. It's all Casey's fault here.
So I actually shoes are the one thing that are a unique wear item. And so I buy shoes that are slightly different in color each time so that I know what generation and how many months I've had those shoes for. So I'll have a fully black pair and then a black pair with a gum sole and then a gum sole with a gray upper and then a all gray pair and then etc. With black, gray, and tan. I just start rotating through. And so I know exactly how many miles are on each shoe at any given time. And that's how I do it. And I don't necessarily need to label them. I wouldn't ever write in Sharpie on something because that's sloppy and unprofessional. But if I were to print a label and I could print a label on and put it on my shoes, I probably would, but it probably wouldn't hold up. So,
hey, you never know. They make industrial adhesive labels, so you never know.
Maybe it's never been an issue thus far. So, but yeah, I train in the same shoes for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, now the question is, in your garage, do you have like some form of like fake grass or like carpet, or are we running on concrete here to destroy our magazines?
So I still do a lot of CrossFit out there. So I got rubber gym flooring installed. So that's it's like a CrossFit gym / Dryfire dojo. So I wear my standard court training shoes out there. And train on the rubber mats, and the rubber doesn't let the mags get too beat up on the concrete as you're dropping them. It's a really good surface for training. It's got lots of traction. It's good.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of this in Minnesota, what is the range surface typically like in your area?
I mean, we have a pretty healthy mix. We have gravel ranges, we have sandy ranges, we have grassy / dirt ranges. We kind of see a little bit of it all.
Mm-hmm. So if you guys were to pick a range or a club that is your home place, what would that be?
Forest Lake, probably.
Yeah.
I'm not a member over there. I'm a member at a different one, but I think Forest Lake is probably what I consider like home match range. And they have, I mean, it's kind of like grade 5 compacted dirt, kind of gravel a little bit. Gravel in some of the newer bays.
Yeah, and I think Luke, I just watched your little video from the match they had not too long ago that you were applauding all the stages on that match too. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of like that nice dirt that that's movable, which is nice instead of it being super compacted where you can't move dirt to have a low boy target that's safe in the middle of the bay. And
Tim Dundery. He has really changed the landscape of shooting in Minnesota. I feel like he's taken the level of stage quality, not only at our majors, but at our locals, and really just pushed the needle where I feel like we're shooting nationals quality stages at our locals. It's absolutely incredible. He puts in a whole heck of a lot of work and does a great job.
Mm-hmm. I can agree. I got to see him at Kentucky couple weeks ago, and it was good to see him come down from Minnesota. He was telling me, it was like, yeah, my one-way flight was like $95. I'm like, that's pretty cool, not gonna lie.
Yep. He's a good dude, solid dude.
Mm-hmm. So what does Carry Optics Nationals is over. I'm assuming it's back to production for Handgun Nationals.
Casey, your life is simpler, so you go ahead and you start this one.
Yep. Back to production. That's my focus from now on.
Mm-hmm.
It is the last qualifier for World Shoot for next year.
Mm-hmm. Now, where are you sitting at points wise for the World Shoot, Casey?
I actually don't know. I think I'm on the team right now, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right. So you're just hoping to increase your odds or decrease anyone else's odds of taking your spot, right?
I think so, yeah. I think if I had to guess right now, it's Nils, Mason, myself, maybe Brian Giovannini, but Sal could sneak in there. Sal had a DQ at last year's Production Nationals, but if he has a good score this one, he could sneak in there.
Right. Now, is Brian Giovannini, is he like a known entity in production, or is he just dabbling in it from time to time?
No, he's definitely known.
Okay. Because I think the first time I saw Brian's name was at Handgun last year, because I didn't recognize that. So okay. And he's got to be what, from Area 7 or Area 8?
Yeah, he's on the East Coast.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, Luke. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen Brian at the top of the scoreboard in production as long as I've been in the sport. At least he's been I think a predominantly production shooter and a damn good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Casey's getting ready for production. Going back into for Handgun Nationals. So how many more majors do you have before Handgun Nationals?
0.
Oh, okay. So it's just training. So it's pretty much maybe a few locals and then just training all the way till September.
Yep.
Okay.
I told Tim the other day, because Tim had made some comment about Casey, not coming out to locals very often or something, and I made an offhand comment to Tim. I was like, yeah, I mean, beating all of us probably gets boring eventually, so he might as well just keep training.
Well, but here's the thing: if Tim offered a case of Busch Light to the winner of the match, Casey would be like,
that's a little different. Yeah,
it's like, ooh, I don't have to buy a case. I can be like, sweet, let's go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love shooting local matches. I like shooting matches, but I went through a phase of that back in 14, 15, 16, 17, where I shot just so many matches. I just was really just getting like burnt out. So in the past few years, especially, I've really focused on, hey, I'm going to shoot less majors, really focus on them, train a lot, and I seem to not burn out as much.
Right. So do you feel, or do you think in your professional, I'll say a professional opinion, that for the guys who just shoot a bunch of matches, they're not really, it's hard for them to progress?
Absolutely.
Because they're not testing themselves. They're just testing them on that one stage that one day, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get better, you have to train. You can't just shoot matches.
Right. And I agree with you. I mean, I've definitely got people who are like, oh, I'm going to this local this weekend. I'm doing a doubleheader the next weekend. I'm like, are you going to go practice? Are you going to? And usually the answer is, of course, no. It's not. They're not going to go practice. And I hope one of my local friends actually listens to this very end of the podcast. And we already had the conversation. It's like, it's time to stop shooting so many matches, but just go shoot, go practice.
But, I think in analyzing all the shooters I've seen come into the sport and their trajectories, I talked earlier about like people settling into their natural set point, where their abilities or where their natural abilities settle them in. And I think coming into the sport new, shooting as many matches as you can will get you to your set point. Wherever you're going to wash, wherever your abilities are going to get you to, that experience will get you to there. But as far as breaking past whatever your natural abilities get you to, the only way you're going to do that is through training.
100%.
So it'll get you to your plateau fast, but it won't get you past your own natural plateau.
Right. That's a nice way of putting it. All right. So Casey's just training up till Handgun Nationals, which will be awesome to see. Oh, before I move on, so do you feel that the change to 15 rounds in production was adequate? Should it have stayed the same, or do you actually like it?
No, I love it. It's pretty much like IPSC now. So 15 rounds, just, yeah. I mean, I love shooting IPSC. I love the 15 rounds. So to have that now in USPSA is awesome.
Right. And the only thing you can't have is a race holster in production yet, and then it would be IPSC production.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I'm assuming you just keep your rig IPSC legal and you don't mess around with anything, I'm assuming, correct?
Correct.
Gotcha.
So a cool anecdote on that, asking about 10 versus 15 round, that kind of comes out of the data for looking at, another data-driven anecdote. So we have position exits and position exit with reload. In production, 10-round production, every single position ends up being a position exit with reload. In something like carry optics, 3/4 to 4/5, somewhere around like 75 to 80% of your position exits are just exits, not an exit with reload. In 15 round divisions, it's almost an equal 50-50 split. And that 50% of the time you leave a position, you're going to be reloading. 50% of the time you won't. So the 15 round divisions create, at least in that skill set, more balance than any other division. So that's just kind of a cool little anecdote on like why I think 15 rounds is a really cool middle point.
Mm-hmm. No, and I like it. I like the fact that, someone can, like Casey is always can be practicing for the world shoot when it comes to shooting 15 rounds. It's not, oh, do I have a 10 round magazine or do I have a 15 round magazine? It's always cool to be able to practice what you need to be for the big day.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a great idea in my brain and I lost it as I was saying all those awesome words. Damn it. It'll come back to me eventually, I guess. But that's the cool part about it is, you're able to be competing on that level and always be prepared for that match. So Luke, what about yourself? Do you have what majors are sitting on your calendar for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I have USPSA multi-gun nats is right here in Forest Lake. I dabble. Casey's like strictly a handgun shooter for the most part right now. I dabble a little bit more in the 2-gun stuff. I've been going out to Max's PCSL match for a little while. I love it. So I've been enjoying that. I've never actually shot a shotgun in competition. And so I have 2 weeks to learn how the hell to do that, figure out what division I want to shoot with a borrowed shotgun and shoot multi-gun nats. And then I past that, I think there's a couple majors in Minnesota, section-ish, hit factor, PCSL stuff going on, and then Wisconsin PCSL championship, and then handgun nats. So I have those coming up, and then divisionally, I was hoping to move to irons. But I just got into, unfortunately, 2 guns from CZs, 2 brand new Shadows that don't run, that were going to be my production guns for this. And they're just having tons of failures to extract. So that's obviously quite unfortunate, derails my plans a little bit. So I'm going to be sticking with the optics, because I have Shadow 2s right now that are milled that work just fine. And then working with CZ USA to get those hopefully taken care of, so I can get switched over to irons as soon as possible. But in the immediate future, it looks like I'm sticking with CO for now.
Gotcha. So I did remember what my question was. So, I'll lead it to Casey first because I think it a little pertains more to that. So, Casey, when you're at like Carry Optics Nationals, were you doing does your make ready look different between like say USPSA Nationals compared to IPSC Nationals or the World Shoot?
Yeah. I mean, USPSA Nationals, you can take a sight picture, so I generally will. But other than that, it's basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Because, like, if I'm not mistaken, you can't pull the trigger during make ready in IPSC, and you can't take a sight picture unless you're shooting a rifle, I believe, because you can check your dot. I think you can, if I'm not mistaken, in mini rifle or what is it, minigun or PCC or carbine, whatever they call that rule set, you can check your dot, which was interesting enough because they let rifles do it, but not pistols. It's weird. But so it pretty much stays the same for you then, as you're always getting prepared to shoot the World Shoot or IPSC Nationals.
Yep. And if it's like if I'm going overseas to shoot a match, usually the last couple of USPSA matches, I will make ready like I am at that match, that major match. So I won't take any sight picture, no trigger pulls. I'll just load it up and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I could bet that could ding a lot of people going at an IPSC match if they're not used to it, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm assuming it's a warning and then it's always a procedural. I don't think there's ever a possibility of being DQ'd for that infraction, correct? Okay.
Yep.
And this also reminded me, because Luke talked about two Shadows from CZ. Isn't it correct that, Casey, you shoot for Tanfolio as well?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Did you actually have to work the booth at all at Carry Optics Nationals, or did you get out?
I did not. Nope.
Oh.
Nope. IFG has guys that come down to support that booth.
Okay. And how is because what Tanfoila used to be imported by what EAA at first,
EAA.
and then now it's IFG.
Correct.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming pistols are still pretty easy to get a hold of then, even now through IFG instead of EAA.
Yep.
Gotcha. And do you keep your now getting a little gear heavy, but do you keep your stock or do you put a bunch of Patriot parts into it?
Mine are pretty much all stock.
Gotcha.
Yep, I use Patriot grips right now. But other than that, maybe I'll change out a hammer spring for a little bit lighter one. Other than that, it's basically all stock.
Gotcha. Now, red fiber or green fiber?
Green.
Okay. Luke, what about you? Are you pretty much a stock CZ kind of person, or you deck them out with all the bells and whistles?
That's a loaded question. So I'm still learning the CZ platform. I spent the last couple of years shooting 320s. I shot Walthers before that. I shot Glocks before that. Both, significant amount of years on each platform. I think 6 years on Glocks, 8 on Walthers, and 4 on 320s. I've 6 months on the CZs. I like to explore all the options. I tried the short reach trigger kits, the aftermarket hammers, all that stuff. I ended up going back just to stock. The only thing I changed is recoil spring and hammer spring, as far as internally. And then, externally, I like my gun to be, well, I guess speaking of springs, I also go in a little bit different direction on my recoil spring. I like basically the heaviest recoil spring I can run with reliable function. So I run 16-pound recoil springs in my shadows. And then on the other side, externally, I am very particular about my grips. I 3D print my own grips that have a very unique shape to them. Very, very asymmetric, very fat on the support hand side, in order to allow my palm of my support hand to really get really good traction on the gun. And then I like my guns very heavy too, so I have the lock light on there. But other than that, grips, lock light, custom 3D printed mag release button, paddle, and swap the springs, and we're good to go.
Fair enough. So you said you print your own grips. So what
Yep.
resin are you actually printing in?
PLA, just standard PLA.
Okay.
They don't take obviously I could use much more durable materials, but I'm on like version 96 or something like that. So, they last long enough that, it's not really, it would not be cost effective to, machine them or try to use a more robust, material.
Right. Well, and if that makes sense too, if you know you're going to wear them down within 3 months, it makes no sense to go in and invest in a higher quality material when you know you can just print them and you'll be fresh as new with a day's worth of print, maybe, right?
Yeah, I have a printer that can print a new set in an hour, so it's like the silicon carbide gets all gunked up with chalk and skin, and before the grip itself, the material itself is ever going to wear out. So every couple months, just throw on a new set, and we're good to go.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So guys, this is kind of like that's all I've got for you tonight. Is there anything you both? I'll let you go both one at a time that you guys want to share with the audience or make sure that we cover before we call this a wrap.
I guess I'll kick it off. We touched a lot on the Dryfire system stuff. I feel like, at least for me personally, it's been massively beneficial. It's not just something that I'm pushing because we get it's a paid service for the subscription. We offer a lot of stuff for free. It is a paid service, but I really want to help the community get better at shooting, help my friends get better at shooting, help everybody get better at shooting. And we really did use an engineering approach to develop a solution to really attack the problem of becoming a better shooter. So I really recommend people check that out. There's enough free content. You can get a ton of benefit from what you see on the website without ever spending a dime. Check that out. Reach out to either of us or, directly to the Dryfire Systems email or Instagram or whatever, if you have any questions, and get training. There's nothing that gets you better, quicker than regular Dryfire, picking up your gun every day.
Mm-hmm. And Casey?
Yeah, I mean, just to build off what Luke said, I mean, Dryfire is not always sexy. It's not always the funnest thing to do. You want to do every day coming home from work, but our program works. It's meant to be used every single day, and just be consistent with it. And if you really want to get better, you have to train. And you got to train all the time. So, and I think Luke and I both can say that, and pretty much anybody in the boneyard crew that we train with as well, and practice with, those guys are the same way. Those guys are training all the time. So if you want to get better, you got to put in the hours, and dry fire system is an easy way to do that. Like Luke mentioned, you don't have to think about what drill you're doing. You just go down and just train and just work on getting better every single day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It takes time, effort, dedication, and a plan. And Dryfire Systems provides the plan. So I recommend everybody go out and check it out. It's at least worth at least 1 month's worth of your money. So go check it out and see if you like it, and then keep paying the money because you forget to cancel your plane or something. It's like the other, like, just don't get Rocket Money, because Rocket Money will tell you that you're still spending on it. But guys, Luke, Casey, I appreciate you coming on here, chit-chatting with me and having a good old blast. So I appreciate you taking time out of your evening that you could be dry firing. So thank you for hanging out with me.
I'm about to. Don't you worry. I'm about to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But listeners, thank you for watching as always. Like I always say on every show, get out and do the things. I'll see you on the next one.